Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari A to Z Flashback, a series of short playthroughs of the 150 games that make up Atari Flashback Classics for Nintendo Switch. Today's game is Canyon Bomber. This was a 1978 conversion of the 1977 arcade game that we've previously seen on this series. And this 2600 port that we're looking at today was developed by David Crane, which is a name that you might well know. So Crane was one of the notorious Gang of Four of early Atari developers who would go on to form Activision in protest at Atari's refusal to credit game designers actually within their games, and they missed out on royalties and all sorts, and they thought that this was pretty unreasonable because, well, it was. But yeah, Crane would sort of have the last laugh in this regard, because after forming Activision, he would go on to particular fame when he developed a game called Pitfall, which is a very well-known game, and it was very influential in helping to define the platform game genre. So without Pitfall, things like Super Mario Brothers and that sort of thing might not have been in exactly the format they ended up being in. Now, as for Canyon Bomber itself, this is another example of an Atari arcade conversion that's best described as an adaptation rather than a port. So it actually has quite a bit more on offer than the original arcade version, including a mode that is basically a port of the otherwise unconverted arcade game Destroyer, which we've previously seen on this series. So let's go play Canyon Bomber.
Okay, here we are once again with Atari Flashback Classics, this time taking a look at Canyon Bomber, the 2600 version as opposed to the arcade version that we saw a little while back. Right, so let's begin as always by having a quick look at the instructions. We can admire that lovely artwork and the poor quality scan of it. Right, here we are. So, in its original incarnation, this used paddle controllers. For the most part, you just need the button. But there is one of the game modes where you need to use the paddle, and you'll see that when we get to it. So there are handicaps you can apply. When the difficulty switch is in position A for advanced, you must wait until a bomb runs its course before firing again. Slide the switch to position B and suddenly you're allowed to recover and refire your bomb by pressing the red fire button. This enables you to reshoot a bad shot or to fire at a different target if the original target is hit by your opponent. In the B position, the computer plays on a more skillful level and therefore will be more difficult to beat. That's interesting. So in B position, you have an advantage, but the computer is more challenging. Interesting. Alright, so the way Canyon Bomber works is much the same as the arcade version. You have a canyon full of stuff, you need to bomb it, and you get points for hitting stuff, and you lose one of your chances anytime you miss something or if you fly across the entire canyon without hitting anything. You get points depending on how deep the things you hit are, so stuff that is further down the canyon, the more points you get for. And your aim is to score 1,000 points in a game with unlimited bombs, or until you've missed 6 times. The other mode that you've got in here is basically a port of Destroyer, which is another arcade game we saw back towards the beginning of this series, where you move a line up and down and you drop depth charges, and they explode wherever your line is when you drop them, and you have to take out ships. So that's pretty much it. The different variations are basically 1 and 2 player modes, and whether the bricks fall or whether they're suspended. So let us begin. Alright, so we'll begin with game number 1, which is 1 player Canyon Bomber with falling bricks and limited bombs. So it's us against the computer. We are the yellow one. So we're trying to score as many points as we possibly can before we miss 6 times, preferably beating the computer. And much like the original arcade version, this is purely a 1-button game. All you need to do is just hit the button and you'll drop a bomb in that sort of diagonal path down the screen. And you basically just need to hope that something hits. If you don't hit, that bar underneath your score will drop slightly, as you can see there. And when that's completely empty, you are out of chances, and that is the end of the game. We're playing with the difficulty switch on B, as we said in the manual. So that means you can refire your bomb as many times as you like if you can see that it's not going to hit anything. But I won't lie, it's not going great for me right now. As the computer is pretty much thrashing me. Only a few little blocks left to hit though. Don't think I'm going to get any of them. Oh no! Last chance. Oh, it's all over. You see, there's plenty of challenge in there. Let's have another go. Let's set that left difficulty to A, so we can only drop one bomb at a time. That supposedly makes the computer more... crap. Oh, I still seem to be on... I still seem to have the ability to drop a bomb as many times as I want. Interesting. Anyway, let's have another go with under these rules in that case. Maybe it's the right difficulty switch I should have changed. But yeah, as you can probably imagine, this is mainly intended as a two-player game, but it's nice that the single-player option is here, and you can actually play it however you want, so you can completely ignore the computer player if you want to, and just play for your own high scores. Oh, is the computer out of misses? I didn't think that happened. I didn't think it was possible for him to run out of misses, but apparently it is. So now it's all up to us. With our pinpoint precision bombing. I could maybe even eke out a win with this, although I feel it's fairly unlikely due to reasons that are probably apparent already. Nice. Nice. Getting the hang of this whole accuracy thing, definitely, for sure. Don't think we're going to catch the computer, though. Not when I've just got 4 blocks left to hit. Oh, no. It's a miss. What's the path on these ones? Oh. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, the faster jets are quite difficult to hit things with. That's it. More of the biplanes. Oh, nice. Just one more to go. Bit of range finding. And release. Oh, missed. Damn it. Oh, I'm going to lose. Shit. And I didn't even beat the computer. Alright, well, let's try setting the right difficulty to A then. So that... Yeah, there we are. So that now means that however many times I press the fire button, if there's a bomb in flight, I have to just deal with it. So that means you need to take a bit more care, particularly when there's not much stuff left on the screen. Because you can't do that range finding thing that I was doing previously. You just gotta make sure that you hit something. But that's no problem for a skilled master of games like you, is it? No, it may be a problem for me, but not for you. As you, I've heard, are amazing at games. Oh! Yeah, it's getting tricky now. Particularly with this sort of fire and deal with it system we got going on. And I still can't beat the computer. I do still like this game though. I mean, much as the arcade version is a lot of fun, so too is... Oh, that was stupid. So too is this version. It's just the simplicity of it. It's a little bit more than just a straight shoot 'em up. But it's not anything so complicated you need to sort of stress out over or anything like that. And it's all over. Alright, so other game variations that we've got on here. There's 2-player. And now we are into 1-player Canyon Bomber. With suspended bricks and limited bombs. So this is basically the same as what we just did. But this time, when you knock out a brick from underneath something, it doesn't fall down to the bottom. So see, that just means that you just sort of gradually make holes in the wall. And the bricks stay there, rather than all dropping down to the bottom. So I can't quite tell if that makes it easier or harder. I think it makes it slightly easier. Just because if you can keep some bricks up towards the top, then they're a bit easier to hit. But they're also worth fewer points while they're up at the top, so... And again, the difficulty switches do the same thing in this, so... In the mode we're on at the moment, we can only drop one bomb at a time. And if we make a mistake with that bomb, well, we just have to deal with it. Like that. And we're not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. Still getting thoroughly trounced by the computer, of course, but, well... What are you going to do? Yeah, we're down to that tricky pinpoint accuracy stage. Let's just launch and hope for the best. Yeah, it is slightly easier if this one's sort of staying up around the top, because it's just a little bit more predictable where your bombs are going to go. Oh dear. That was not going to end well. Oh, just one more to go. Oh no! Come on, can we get it? We've got to get this. Oh, we got it! And I got an achievement. Check that out. I thought that achievement was for the arcade version, but no, turns out it's for this version. That's cool. So yeah, if you didn't know, Atari Flashback Classics has a bunch of sort of retro achievements to go with all these games. Mostly... No, in fact, there's a nice mix of both the 2600 and the arcade ones in here, so... yeah, they just give you some additional challenges to aim for and sort of significant milestones that people would have come across in playing these games when they were current. Sorry, just having a sip of coffee before it goes too cold. Let's put that somewhere where I won't spill it. Alright, so what else have we got on here? 2-player Canyon Bomber, suspended bricks, limited bombs. Then you have 2-player Canyon Bomber, falling bricks, unlimited bombs. You can only play this one in 2-player. And in that one, it's just whoever gets to 1,000 points first wins. And then you can do that with suspended bricks as well. And then we move on to Sea Bomber. So, in this case, you have this line that moves up and down that you use your paddle controller with. And your aim is to hit the ships. And that's it, basically. So again, the stuff that is further down the screen you'll get more points for. But they are harder to hit. So when you drop a bomb from your plane in this one, it will explode wherever the line was when you dropped it. And there's a certain amount of splash damage as well. So you can see that that one exploded quite a way away from the submarine and it still got it. So you don't have to be completely accurate and precise on this one. But you do have to sort of vaguely be in the vicinity of the thing that you're trying to hit. Nice shot. Oh, I'm actually winning. How about that? Again, I think in this one it's first to 1,000 points wins. So I don't think there's any sort of miss mechanic in this one. $4.20. Nice. As the internet is wont to say. Get it? Lovely. Ooh, computer's pulling ahead. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Well, I can't quite hit that one. That's no good. Need to be a bit more ambitious and go for some of those deeper ones, I think. Nah, too late. Yeah, this is a tricky one. Because it's all about that timing. But getting the right timing is really tricky. Because you've not only got the movement of the ships to think about, you've got your own movement as well. And if your own movement isn't sort of nicely in sync with the ships, then you can find yourself struggling a bit. That should get him. Nice. Oh, very nice. And the computer has won with 1,000 points. Let's have one more go at that. I do like this mode. It just demands just a little bit more in the way of skill than basic Canyon Bomber does. I really like Canyon Bomber for the fact that it isn't a very demanding game. It doesn't expect a lot of you. And as such, it's very straightforward and accessible. It's a really good game to sort of share with people who don't play a lot of video games. But even today, I've had sort of people over to play games who are not necessarily very strong at more complex modern games, but you give them something like this, it's especially in its regular Canyon Bomber mode, and they're all over it because it's dead simple. All you got to do is press a button. Anyone could do that. Now I think it's one of the great appeals of these classic old Atari games. There's a lot of people out there who sort of say, oh, these games haven't aged very well. Like, graphically and sonically, no, maybe they haven't. But in terms of gameplay, a lot of them are absolutely timeless. And incredibly accessible. Which is why collections like Atari Flashback Classics still have so much value and why I love picking them up. I think most sort of Atari VCS compilations that have been released over the years for home consoles in particular, I've tended to pick up. Not necessarily because I have great attachment to these original games, because I grew up with the Atari 8-bit computers, which was sort of post 2600. The 2600 was still around when I was first starting to get into games, obviously, but by that point there was more advanced hardware around, so a lot of people were kind of the mind that, well, why should I go back to something older and inferior when I have access to an Atari 8-bit, an Atari ST, that sort of thing. But like in this modern age, when we have the luxury of being able to look back on stuff and enjoy this sort of pixel perfect emulation that we're enjoying here, you can really appreciate these games for what they are. You can really get a feel for them. You can really understand their appeal. You can understand what made them unique. And this is one thing that I've always been conscious of it, but I've been particularly conscious of it recently. It just sort of occurred to me the other day while I was playing, while I was playing the remake of Saboteur on the Nintendo Switch. One of the most interesting things about gaming from this period that I think we've lost these days pretty much completely is what made different platforms unique. So, like, you can tell this is the 2600 game just by looking at it. And just by listening to it and hearing those iconic sound effects and seeing those chunky sprites and those massive pixels and that sort of thing, you know this is a 2600 game just by looking at it. And we don't really have that anymore. You can't look at a Nintendo Switch game and go, yeah, that's a Switch game. Unless it's like a first-party Nintendo game. I mean, they're still doing stuff that is completely unique from everything else. But yeah, in terms of sort of basic capabilities and stuff, we just don't have that unique aspect anymore. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so attached to these old games, is because they remind me of a specific time, place, and piece of hardware that I was playing with. And that's really fond memories. Really fond memories. Anyway, before we get too melancholy here, let's call that a day for that. That is Canyon Bomber. Yeah, it's definitely a favourite of mine. Can't quite work out if I prefer the arcade version or this 2600 version. I think the 2600 version is more fun in multiplayer, and I think the arcade version might be more fun in single player. But yeah, either way, both versions are well worth playing. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.